All right, guys. What's up, everybody? This is your boy Roberto with the Yugioh Sports Center. I got my sponsor player Jerome Adams, and I have another Yugi tuber, my boy Santino Bradford from the Yu-Gi-Oh Process. We are all in the video, guys. We are about to make something big. This is history. We're about to start something new. We're about to start interviewing top players, guys. And the first player that we are actually able to get, guys, you're gonna love it. But before I get into it, I'm gonna let my boy Jerome and Santino introduce themselves. Jerome, go ahead and let everybody know who you are for those who don't.
What's up, guys? This is Jerome, aka Jerome 904. Um, y'all originally know me as the True Draco God, Outlish God, however you want to call it. But now you already know. As today, I'm playing the Flu God. I'm trying to be the Flu God. I'm one step,
A step at a time.
yeah, one step at a time, guys. So that's all. Y'all should know me. You should see me, and that's it.
All right, Tino.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Tino. I'm known as the YGO Process. I'm just a content creator from North Florida, the Jacksonville area. I'm just capturing content for, again, all of the Florida scene, primarily putting Jacksonville on the map. But again, just an avid player of the game and fairly well known throughout Florida if you've seen me at any events. But I'm starting to travel out to a lot more YCSs and upcoming events this year. So it's good to be here.
All right. Thank you, boys, for both being on the call today. So we have an interview with five-time YCS champion, guys, Chris LeBlanc. So many regional tops. We don't even want to talk about the regionals. We can go on for days. The guy's been relevant for so many years. He's shown that he can be consistent through so many formats, guys. And I'm happy to have him on. And I think he's probably arguably one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh players ever. You can make that argument. Five-time YCS winner. I mean, that speaks for itself. Without further ado, guys, we're bringing on Chris LeBlanc. Woo! What's up, Chris?
How's it going? How you guys doing?
How you doing?
Doing good.
That's what's up. So thank you for making time to come on the channel, man. Like I said, this is history in the making. Nobody has started anything like this, and to have a five-time YCS champion on the channel is great. You've been around Yu-Gi-Oh for God knows how long. My boy Tino told me you've been around forever, and you consistently, been, and that's not something easy to do. So I think that's why I want to. I'm gonna go ahead and let you give everybody a rundown of who you are for those few people that don't know who you are, and tell them a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, and we'll get you started.
All right, so I've been playing since I was a child. I started out by going to Toys R Us, and I met some people there that directed me towards locals. This is when I was roughly 6 or 7 years old. Is when I first started going, and then after that, I had just heard about there being an SJC, which is what they were called before they were called YCSs, back in Boston in 2005, I believe. I was 8 years old, granted at the time, but I had gone and I'd really liked the structure of the tournament, being able to go and play an organized play and having all these people doing the same thing as you. I think it was really nice from a young age, and I did fairly well for for an 8-year-old. So that's where I kind of started playing, and then throughout the years I tried to go to as many events as possible, but it became easier when I got older. Of course, when I was when I got to high school, I was definitely able to go to more events, and even going to 2 or 3 events a year still helped, overall for sure. But
Okay. That's what's up, man. That's crazy that you started at 8, man. A lot of people, I mean, to start at 8, that's amazing. I mean, you're a very talented kid. So I guess I'm gonna start it off with my first question. What was the first real event that made you think you seen yourself kind of transitioning into a great player?
um,
I know it's been a
I
while, so it may
guess
be hard, but
I guess probably YCS Philly, 2014, with Madolches, because I had before that I had never made a deck for my own that had done well at a YCS, but getting through the Swiss of that tournament, and then getting to top 16 with my Madolche deck that I made last minute, I kind of felt like I proved to myself that I was a good player at the time, and then having to win in draft as well was also pretty difficult because you're playing with a whole new deck in Top Cut. So I think it definitely was a deciding factor. If I knew the game overall, rather than just oh, I could play an event with my deck because like a lot of people can do that and like they have had success through that, but just like when you have that extra layer that you have to do, obviously like playing in draft is like a whole new tournament, so like it's kind of being prepared for all that was kind of nice and having good success.
That's because a lot of people at some point they kind of don't know when the turning point is going to be for them. So that's helpful for a lot of upcoming players, because a lot of times you don't know when you're starting to get to that next level. And it's that one event that kind of makes you feel like you're getting there. Tino, what you got for him, my boy?
Yeah, Chris, I've actually followed you for a very long time, directly and indirectly. I've been there since like Fusionist. I was an avid
Yeah.
Fusionist player myself. I know that you created that deck and innovated that for the scene. I'm really good friends with like Kyle and the card guys back in the day. So especially seeing you travel with them, from Necros format all the way through a lot of formats where just, really just a testament to like your player, pretty much like your player skill. Just wanted to get your insight with varying formats, you performing well in all of them. What does it truly take for you to settle on a deck, especially in different metas, in between control metas and decks of like combo deck eras? What's something that kind of grabs your attention and makes you want to play something? I know you've been playing purely actively throughout most of the meta, especially in something dealt with a lot of Cash Tier and Unchained. What kind of gives you these deciding factors as like a pro player that you want to take a certain choice to a particular event?
I think having a deck advantage definitely helps. A lot of the time, people like Apurli is a great example of a deck that I feel like people still haven't figured it out. Like they don't know how to play it perfectly, which is kind of something that gives you an advantage there. There's a lot of the time where like I'll be playing versus somebody and they won't know like a play I'm about to do, and I know it's going to get me there a lot of the time. In like other formats, I've tended to play like the deck that everyone thinks is like the best deck. Like for tier was pretty obvious, like to play tier. For a zoo format, it was pretty obvious to play that. Like Necros, like all those formats are like fairly easy to decide a deck. But formats like this like take a lot more that. And I've been on the Pearly wave for a while. I feel like at this point it's me holding on to it a little bit, but at the end of the day, like anything could happen for the next event. Like I could jump ships like last minute. I've done it like 3 or 4 times, like in the past, like for events that I've won. So I think it really just comes up to like whatever I think in the moment, like last minute, like a lot.
Okay. Jerome, what you got for him?
So as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, Chris, what's drive you to want more in the game instead of I done got all these tops and I don't know what else to do. So I just want to hear your point of like what keep you going.
Definitely coaching recently. I feel like being able to help as like and talk to as many of the people like that I do talk to and help them improve their play. It's definitely been a big motivator for me. It's harder to find things that like give you that same type of like like that boost, that energy like when you win. But like seeing my friends win definitely is keeping me in like for sure at this point. I obviously want to go to Worlds as well. Like I still have things that I have not like done yet in the game, so I think that's another thing. That's a huge motivator for me as well. Seeing Paulie win Worlds was a huge motivator. So I feel like it's within reach now, and he proved that it was like to a lot of people because US has never won Worlds before. So him winning definitely got a lot of people like out of the woodwork.
Okay. That's actually a great answer, because I was thinking like winning 5-time YCS winner, like what more do you want out of Yu-Gi-Oh? What keeps you going? And it leads me to my other question. I noticed you consistently always top YCS. Even you barely bubbling out at the YCS that just passed getting 66. You need 2 more places, you would have been in the top cut again.
Yeah.
What's the difference that you think separates a lot of you great players from average players that can't consistently top across the board? Like, what do you do differently at the events? Like, what prepare? Is it mentally? Is it coming in on a full meal? Like, what keeps you focused on being able to consistently get those 8 or 9 wins to get you to day 2? Sometimes 7. What helps you consistently be able to do that?
I definitely think the events I've noticed where I've tested more, I've done better, I've messed up less. But some days you just like it's not in your favor. Like you'll make a mistake and think that like it's because like you didn't prep enough, but like maybe it's because like your mental that day or like that weekend, something else could be affecting it, and that's like a huge part. Like players like kind of like push to the side, but they gotta remember that like everyone's human and everyone's gonna have like those days where you just don't perform well, and it's not going to be because of like how many hours you put in. Like you could have tested more than like you ever tested, and still make those mistakes. So I think that's like a huge part where people like forget that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because I went to a regional before and had so much personal stuff going on. I was playing, I was just completely forgetting to do things because my mind wasn't in the right place. And like you said, I think that's something big that maybe for those of you out there watching this interview, that maybe you should focus on. You got to be in the right mental state whenever you go to these events.
Yep.
Is there any players that you, because now I see you help coach players, and a lot of players are scared to get coaching because they feel like they get picked on. I'm pretty sure there was somebody at some point in your career that coached you and got you to the point where you were. Did you have coaching as you were growing up because you did start at a very young age?
Yeah, of course. I think that's where everyone starts, and people are just scared of the word coaching because it comes with like a dollar sign next to it. But at the end of the day, like you have to remember, like people like have limited time. Their time is obviously worth money. Like there are a bunch of my friends that I would pay for their services to do something that would save me time, even though I could probably do it myself. Like at the end of the day, it's guidance, which is a lot what people need, like when playing the game and trying to become a lot more competitive. And that's what I had when I was growing up. Obviously, I had Patrick. I had Jarrell. I had a lot of players near me, like Joe, Giolando, Stefan. Had all these players that were like good influences on me. That like might not have been, oh, I'm paying them for coaching, but at the end of the day, like me entering enough tournaments where they're around, it's kind of like the same thing. Like if I'm gonna spend $20 and lose a tournament and then not get a return from it, I'm still paying to like be around these players and like learn like and see what they do to kind of become better. And that's really what coaching is at the end of the day. Like you're just like it's sad that you have to put a dollar amount on it, but the amount of people that like I have hitting me up thinking like sometimes when my statuses are a little bit they're not like misleading, but like they read it and like see it in like a different way, thinking I'm giving free coaching, like meaning like I'm free, like open to like that you can book me for coaching. So like the amount of people I've gotten that like message me when that stuff happens is like ridiculous. Like there's no way I'd have enough time to go through every single person. So I like to try and give out as many free sessions as I can, like as possible. But at the end of the day, like people pay for it and they feel like they've learned a lot, and it's definitely worth it for people if you're looking to step your game up.
Yeah, some stuff you actually do have to learn because just not being like not having the knowledge in Yu-Gi-Oh and trying to learn a lot of this stuff on your own, like coaching makes a huge difference. That's why you see coaching in almost every single sport because it's there for a reason. And like you said, I mean, when you coach, you take away from your practice time to give it to somebody else. So your time is definitely worth money. You're not a guy that just won once at YCS and disappeared. You got 5 YCS tops. Tino, what you got for me?
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of what Roberto said earlier. I think what a lot of players do strive for in the game is to, achieve that feature of just winning a YCS, but a lot of people kind of look at it from, a spectator standpoint where they want to achieve it, but they can't. So I was really going to ask you, for some of the people who are looking to take that next step, what are some of the small incremental things that you think would really elevate someone's game? Everyone knows, play testing, surrounding yourself around better players, really putting in the hours. But, I know that there's some people that think there's just like that one secret that if they follow it, they'll just become, secret, amazing YCS extraordinaire. If you were to give like any small tips, whether it's inside the game, outside the game, what steps would someone have to take to really just excel and start taking that serious step to become an actual player?
I think there is kind of like a secret that like everyone kind of knows, but they don't really like want to acknowledge it, is like situational awareness. I feel like people kind of just, most of the game, they like take in information, but they don't really take it in. When you observe your opponent do something, like they have this like mental block where it doesn't really allow them to like see what they're doing for like what it is. And I think that's where people are mistaken a lot of the time. You can see something and come to a conclusion like more than 90% of the time anyone does something in a match of Yu-Gi-Oh! Unless they're trying to portray their emotions in a certain way. And I think that's something that people definitely need to look out for, is that everyone's doing something and they're reacting at all times that you need to be aware of.
I think that's something that I've kind of expressed to some players who are coming up, is in a game, especially over the board in front of each other, it's almost like an interrogation. You have to take everything as a sign. Like nothing is almost done with, the intention not to give off information, whether it's intentionally or not. Sometimes whether it's hand gestures, reactions, telegraphing, I think that everything's a sign in the game. So, it's something that you have to end up picking up with time. So I appreciate that.
Jerome, what you got for him?
Speaking of testing, with all your outlets of testing, do you consider a top player still should go to locals to play test, or do you think is other outlets you should be able to play test?
I think definitely dueling book, remote duels, testing with your friends is all way more beneficial if you're trying to learn stuff quicker. But and then like the nature of the game, like being able to like go to a tournament and sit down and actually combo and like do what you can like do with your cards in real life is like a different feeling that most people do need. Because I know people that play all day on DB and then they show up to an event and then they perform poorly, but they'll like I'll have like my friends from locals that only play locals like do well at an event. It's just because they're so used to playing in person, and I think that's like a huge thing you need to like actually get used to when you're like playing a game like Yu-Gi-Oh, because the nerves will definitely get to you. You won't feel like it's normal when you're playing in person instead of playing on DB.
But
I think
my
I'm the
is like, say for example, like for locals, right?
Yeah.
So when you go into locals, you know, like some players only side or fix their decks for local players instead of going to like big events.
Yeah.
So how would you be able to, you know?
I call this the regional effect. I consider everything like from like a regional, a locals, like the OTS, like all in the same category. They're very localized, so you do have like a specific meta. You can kind of like marginalize what decks you're going to play against based on like your knowledge of like you going to locals, and like if you want to attune your deck for a specific locals, like you just need to gather information over the weeks that you play at the locals to. But it's going to be a completely different meta than what you're going to see at like a YCS, because the YCS has the influence of the internet a lot of the time, and whatever happened at the last event, all that information is being processed through all of like your opponent's heads, like going to a YCS. But at locals, it's just kind of like whatever's up in the air. You don't really have a definitive meta.
Um, we're I'm all gonna give us one more question. I'm gonna start it off, then Tino, Jerome, and then I'm gonna let you finish it off, Chris. So my question for you, and this is, I think people sometimes, a lot of like average players like myself, we don't understand the importance of side decking and practicing, whether it's with practicing with your friends or finding a group of people. What is your recipe for coming up with side deck cards, and how you test and who you test with? Because certain formats may, sometimes you may have to test with different people just because they adapted better to the format, or learning how to play against every single deck of the format. What is your recipe for those out there trying to figure out how they can prepare for a regional or even a YCS?
Well, step one, download Discord and make a Discord group with all your friends that play Yu-Gi-Oh and that are in your testing circle. That's what we do. And preparing for an event like side deck wise, I like to. This is what kind of like a little rundown of what I do for my students. I will make a side patterns where like it shows you what cards are going in and what cards are going out versus like last format it was for like 10 different decks, so I did it for like 10 different decks and that's all your matchups. So like going into a tournament, all you have to do is just follow the side patterns. It's like a cheat sheet. And that'll definitely help you like no matter what kind of testing you do. If you do it with your friends, and sometimes sometimes your friends will be more serious into formats. Sometimes your friends will get stuck on decks that they don't want to change. You have to remember that like you're in control of your progression, and if you find people that are going to be like stepping their game up, then like you should be like want to be around those people. And if one of your friends doesn't want to, then like, that's completely fine. Just I know you're gonna like shift your energy more towards the people that like are trying harder, like realistically.
Okay, appreciate it. And guys, before I let Jerome ask his question, this man is giving y'all free coaching inside of this interview. So just imagine what you get when you actually pay for the coaching. This man's a 5-time YCS champion. We don't even add in his other achievements. That alone is enough to want to get that help. And I suggest anybody, if you're going to get coaching, he is one of the people you definitely want to go to, who consistently tops throughout every format. Dude been playing since 2005. Some of you guys haven't even turned 18 yet, so he's been playing since before you were born. So definitely take his advice and and get this coaching, man, because at the end it pays off. Yu-Gi-Oh can turn into money. I'm telling you, it definitely can. Jerome, go ahead and give your final question, Chris, please.
So from coaching, I just wanted just to say, what is your Patreon for everybody who want to try to reach out to you or ask for some advice or want to try to come under you for coaching anything?
So right now we're in the process of making a new accessible site for everyone. So I don't have anything specifically to link to right now. Normally I've just been saying hit me up on Discord, on Twitter or Facebook. But there will be a more definitive answer on that coming up in the upcoming week once we reveal our new plans for coaching.
Do you have like your Discord name or your Instagram name just in
Yeah.
case people want to try to find you?
Yeah. So my IG name is Christopher LeBlanc _
Christopher LeBlanc _ guys. That's his IG.
Yep. That's my
Definitely
IG. And then my Twitter is at Chris _ LeBlanc 97.
at Chris _ LeBlanc 97. And guys, I will make sure I put these in the description. So when you guys watch the video, look in the description, you see a link to his YouTube page, you see his IG, his Twitter, everything you need to know, guys, to get help, advice. To if you, like I said, you want to become a top player, guys, you got Chris right here giving out free everything in this interview. So like I said, just imagine the information you can be in, because I actually learned myself from just some of the things he said. Now I'm going to use it going forward. Santino, go ahead and take out the last question.
All right. And so, Chris, something that I kind of wanted to get into, which is maybe a bit more, personal for you. I have, personally myself growing up an athlete, anything that I've been good at, whether it's been chess, cards, sports, I know I've had to dedicate a considerable amount of time to. Can you kind of give the people a bit of a rough estimate about how much time you invest, typically more or less preparing for an event than, not necessarily in the off season, just to give people more of an ideal scenario of how much time you actually have to put in and effort it requires to like kind of top an event, and the dedication this game actually looks, instead of just like the surface level, because people see the events and they're like, man, this guy topped, he topped again, certainly I can go and do it, but I don't really think people take for granted how much time and investment this actually takes, the travel, the play testing. You give people like kind of like the inside of how your life looks whenever it comes to the game of preparing for an event.
Well, a lot. Honestly, the amount of time we spend on Yu-Gi-Oh, whether it's playtesting, coaching, making content, talking about Yu-Gi-Oh is probably the majority of our day. The off season's a little bit different. We might play some other games just to like mess around, but at the end of the day, it's Yu-Gi-Oh. We're always waiting for the next set, the next exclusives that come out that might change the game. But realistically, I'd say 80% of our day is spent either talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, playing, or just
I don't think,
a
because I
good
don't really
percentage.
think people understand, even outside of having a job, some people are still in school, as I've gradually climbed through the gates of kind of, becoming a better player and seeing my progression over the years, I've realized the better I've done at events, I've required, a lot of investment, and there are players far higher than, my pedigree. So just trying to reach into the mind of a YCS champion, truly letting these people know this isn't something where, if you want to just do it in your free time, you can, but you got to understand the investment's going to show the results. The amount of time you put in on Dueling Book, play test with friends, speak about the game, and truly immerse yourself into the process is going to show the results. It's one of those things where the more you invest, the more it'll come out. Just really wanting people to understand that this isn't something where you can do it 4 or 5 hours once a week, go to locals, and then still expect the the greatness that some of these champions have.
So thank you, Jerome, Tino, Chris. So Chris, I'm gonna let you take it out. I want you to let people, I don't think a lot of people actually know you personally, know how nice of a person you are. You've been nothing but respectful to me, even reaching out, even when I couldn't make the times you needed. You've been, you tried your best to work with me, and I appreciate you for still making it happen for me. Let people know about Chris. They know you're a winner. They know you're a diehard Yu-Gi-Oh person. Let them know about the Chris outside of Yu-Gi-Oh, and let them know a little bit about the Chris in Yu-Gi-Oh, which a lot of us do know. Just let them know about yourself and what type of person you are, because sometimes people don't get to know Yu-Gi-Oh players like how your friends may know you. Like, I know Jerome before he got the second place at the YCS. I know what type of person he is. Sometimes people may stereotype you just because of he say, she say. Sometimes you got to actually know the person and realize that's not who they are. I can say something about Tino and people can run with it and never actually get to know Tino himself, because I'm pretty sure somebody came up and asked you for a picture, you would do it no problem, because you seem like just that type of person. So let the people know, and make sure you tell them about your YouTube page and all that stuff that we will put in the description before we end this interview. And yeah.
Well, I guess I'll lead off by saying I did have plans of becoming a teacher in we'll say the actual world. But then I wanted to transition over to being able to help people in Yu-Gi-Oh. So that's kind of why I'm doing the coaching thing. And I recently started offering free Dragon Duelist coaching. which is something that meant a lot to me because Corey McDuffie, RIP by the way, like he used to do it for Dragon Duelist kids, and he was a really good friend of mine. So I feel like that's kind of what led me to like want to do what I'm doing now, and still like be a part of the game. Obviously, I have a bunch of friends that play, and a lot of my really good friends are like they were made through the game. So I feel like that's a big part of like my community and like my friend groups.
That's great to hear, man. Chris, I appreciate you for coming on the channel. We'll definitely be doing a part 2, especially when you have everything set up. We'll have everything ready, guys. Please reach out to Chris for coaching. This guy's been nothing but greatness. And like I say, he's arguably one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh players ever. Nobody can take that away from him. And as you continue to proceed and be great, man, best of luck to you. I'll keep reaching out. Tino, Jerome, anything you guys want to say to Chris before we end this? And thank you again, Chris, for making it happen and coming on the channel, man.
Of course.
Yeah, again, just appreciate again, the questions, giving people this insight, not only letting them know kind of how your mind operates, just more about your life. This is a big achievement for anybody. Getting 5 YCSs and really giving us the opportunity to ask these questions is a privilege. So thank you.
Appreciate it for coming in, and congratulations on all your success. And I hope I see you soon.
Thank you guys for having me on.
All right, no problem. Have a good one, Chris. Thank you, boys. Until next time, Yu-Gi-Oh! Sports Center, Yu-Gi-Oh! Process, Jerome Adams, Chris LeBlanc. Thank you, guys. Have a
5-time YCS champion Chris LeBlanc.